Welcome to Tuttle Talk on 1190 AM. Now, live in studio, your host, local real estate expert, Andy Tuttle.
Good morning and welcome to Tuttle Talk on the Real Estate Radio Network, where we teach you what the rich and the banks do, not what they tell you to do, and where we dispel the misconceptions of financial wellness and the local real estate market and show you how following some basic principles really can free you up to focus on the other important areas of your life, like your friends, your family, and the community. It's the most important hour of radio every Saturday right here in the great state of Texas on the Real Estate Radio Network. I am your host, Andy Tuttle. Thank you so much for joining me. You can reach out to me during or after the show on my off-air number, 214-736-9696, 214-736-9696, or email me at questions@andytuttle.com. You can also become a fan of the show, facebook.com/Tuttle Talk. Try to give you daily tips on there regarding financial wellness, real estate, tax tips, etc. And you can get into the conversation there with us and many of the other listeners just like you. So go to facebook.com/Tuttle Talk and get in the conversation. I cannot tell you how excited I am about this show today. I'm so genuinely thrilled about it. I've been waiting for it for months. We have a very special guest today. His name is Todd Duncan. He is the best-selling author of over 9 books. 2 of those books have reached the New York Times best-selling list, and many of his books have hit either Wall Street Journal, Business Week, Fortune, Forbes, whatever, you name it. He has reached these lists. Todd is one of America's most sought-after motivational speakers and sales trainers. I've actually been able to hear him speak. I've been through many of his courses. He does big conferences and thousands of people, and then he does small, really classroom-style settings with just a few dozen to go real deep in sales, life, time planning, and mastery. And he is a fantastic person in general, but also a fantastic speaker. And the deal with him is he has an authentic, balanced approach to success, because he doesn't just speak from a platform of success with and triumph, if you will, with no regret. He has regret. He has overcome his family's traumatic car accident and other family personal challenges, a 2-year drug addiction, and a financial collapse of his company many years ago. So he's not a guy that speaks from a high horse. And that's why Todd has become a friend and mentor to salespeople literally all over the world, millions and millions of people. And he helps them achieve success it's a chaotic world out there right now, but real success. He helps people achieve real success without sacrificing the things that you value most. And that's why he's on this show today, because I love bringing you facts and balanced truths about what's going on in the market and also about how you can enrich and improve your life. And he is going to do that. So if you value those things, if you want to know what true success is from the master, stay glued to this station. Get your pen out, get your smartphone out, and get ready to take notes the last half of the show. But right now, I know that we are just a couple of weeks away from the tax deadline, April 15th. I know the clock is ticking. The music is rumbling like in a horror movie, and you still have not done it yet. Well, never fear. Now you can have yet another reason to show that procrastination pays, because I'm going to bring on here a local expert in tax law. His name is Mike Dunlap, and owner of Dunlap and Company, and he is going to give you some great tips and tricks here to show you that procrastination pays even at the end. So you've got 2 weeks left. Mike, welcome to the show.
Andy, how are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. So a couple of things. I know it's crunch time in your world for sure, right?
Exactly.
So what is that like? How does that look and feel for you? Is it just blazes of paperwork and tax returns and or not tax returns, but receipts and expenses just piling into your office?
Yeah, it's really kind of crazy, Andy. It's actually hard to describe. This year's kind of an anomaly a little bit just because of the tax legislation that was passed the first part of the year. The IRS delayed forms and filing, so really the gates weren't open for full filing until March 4th for us. So that's created a big backlog, and a lot of people are just now coming in.
Well, I did not realize that, actually, that people haven't even been able to file. I'm such a procrastinator. See, I don't even know. I just give you my stuff. I still haven't done that yet, so so I have no idea.
You're on my list, by the way.
Yeah, good. I bet I'm in trouble. So right now, people that are like me, that are in a position where maybe people haven't sent their stuff to a CPA yet. What do they need to be doing? What do they need to gather to make sure that you have the information you need to file by the deadline?
That's a great question, Andy. And here's one of the reasons why a lot of people are late this year. You may have received your W-2 or some 1099s, but a lot of brokerage companies, even real estate, mortgage companies, they're sending out corrected 1099s, and so I'm getting calls almost every day from people that are giving me data saying, hey, I just got a corrected form or whatever. And so the key is to wait until you get everything that you know is final, gather all that information. If you can go through and do some things that will help that prepare, total your charitable contributions, get your 1099s in order. If you've got some business expenses, total those. If you've got business miles, let's look at the logs and get those total miles. That will save us some time on the preparation end and try to get it done by the 15th.
So if something happens and you don't get it filed by the 15th, people say, well, I'll just do an extension.
Right.
But I know that if you owe money, that could still be a problem. Is that right?
That is, and that's another great comment and question. The extension is an extension of time to file, not an extension of time to pay. So the IRS clock starts running April 15th with interest and possible penalty. So what we try to do is get everything together, do an estimate of what we think the tax is owed, and then make a payment with the extension. If you're not able to do that, it does buy you 6 months of time till October, but you're going to pay interest on that and possible penalty.
Yeah, that clock that's ticking is an expensive clock, I'm sure of it.
Exactly. The IRS doesn't like being a bank, and I can understand that, but that's the way a lot of taxpayers use that extension period.
Right, and I know I did before. I just didn't know, honestly. I didn't care to know. I do my business. I do what I do. I don't do your job. And I don't know, but the thing is, if you don't have a CPA, it becomes my job, right? If I don't have you, it becomes my job now, right?
Exactly. We're all taxpayers, and we're all thankful that we live in the country that we do, and we want to pay our fair share, but no more than our fair share.
Right. So on that note, what are some tips, let's say, for someone that is going to file? Maybe they're going to use TurboTax, and we'll get to that in a minute. What are some tips for the average Joe? And I include that in myself when I talk about business owners, too, that just are very good at what they do but aren't necessarily locked into how to take advantage of all the tax uses of tax and way to reduce the amount of tax burden that you pay.
Well, one thing that's important to do is there are alternatives and options handling different things. For example, I'll just give you a brief example, educational expenses. If you've got a child that's in college, you can take those expenses as a deduction, or you can take as a credit. A credit is a dollar for dollar against the tax. A deduction, obviously, is limited to, I believe, $4,000, and it's whatever you save is your tax rate times that deduction. So we optimize and do it both ways. A lot of times, you've got to answer the questions right in TurboTax in order to make sure it calculates it both ways. But just realize that things are becoming more complicated. Very few people have just a W-2 anymore, and a couple of kids. I mean, you get into things. Employers pay you different things. You get into houses. You get into investments. You might own some rental property. All those things have tax ramifications to them, and you want to make sure you do them right.
So one other question on that note, speaking of things that get involved that you may not think about, John Allen, our Texas Community Insurance owner over here, had a good question. He had to run today, but he said he asked the question: what are the tax ramifications of a casualty loss?
Okay. Again, and that's kind of a unique area that you think, well, I lost some property, or I had a tree fall on my house, or a hailstorm, something maybe with a car. And in business property, too, you can have casualty losses. So you have personal and you can have business casualty losses. Those are interesting because you've got to gather all the information, and you kind of need to know the fair market value of the property before the casualty and the fair market value after. So that's kind of your loss, the loss in value there. And then you have to factor in if you received insurance proceeds on that reimbursement. And then there's another threshold of your adjusted gross income, so that it gets factored in as a limitation on the amount of that casualty loss. So in the end, you may have a substantial loss, but you may not get much tax break for it. It's mainly disasters and things, pretty large losses before you can deduct them.
Okay. So, final question here. I've heard from Turbo, and I used to use TurboTax a lot. My wife liked that. And
Right.
I know a lot of people use TurboTax and say, well, I don't want to pay for the CPA. They are paying in time, and they still pay for the product. But what I've found, of course, is that using a CPA, a lot of times you can save more money either in the tax burden that I have to pay, or sometimes when you're in a situation you're getting money back, get you more money back.
Yep.
And so what about people that may have already run a TurboTax or done a TurboTax? Is it a good idea to have them run something like that by a CPA?
I have people do that quite often, honestly. They say, hey, I've always done my own return. I use TurboTax. They even kind of apologize a little bit for that. TurboTax is a great product, and it fills a niche. What you don't get with that, though, is maybe audit defense. You don't have somebody, standing behind you or going and talking to the IRS if you get that dreaded letter in the mail. But I would say prepare your return, bring all your documentation, call a CPA, and bring it in. Most are happy to look at it if they've got the time to do so. And then we'll point out some areas maybe where you could do it a different way, or just make sure you've captured everything.
And I think that's a great idea. In fact, I would encourage you guys out there, do that and challenge your CPA and have them challenge them to save you more money than you would be able to save on your own. Put a little competition out there. I like that. And I think Mike would be welcoming that challenge. In fact, if you have not done this yet and you need to beat the deadline, Mike is the guy to call. You can call us here, 214-736-9696, 214-736-9696. I trust him with my finances. I know you can do the same. He will help you out, and I know he will never, even as busy as he is, he will welcome your call and do everything he can to help you. So thank you so much, Mike, for being on the show today.
My pleasure.
All the best of luck these next 2 weeks, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to Tuttle Talk. You are in for a huge treat today. Have you ever felt in a rut? Have you worked to the bone toward your dream of success? I know I have done that, only to get there and feel totally unsatisfied. And has your pursuit of business success cost you success in your family or other relationships? Because I know that happens all the time. I'm going to talk to one of the most sought-after speakers in America on the subject. He literally wrote the book on true success. Actually, he's written several books on it. And he has interviewed the most successful people from all over the world over the past 2 decades. And coming up, he is going to share with you the top 5 character traits of truly successful people. So, stay with us.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
You'd get upset when your insurance company doesn't pay your claim. More often than not, the reason is because you didn't buy the coverage that you thought you had. Just because you have a policy does not mean that you have coverage for all of the things that may happen to your house or your car. Your education about proper insurance coverage does not have to be long and drawn out. Want some help? Call me. I'm John Allen with Texas Community Insurance, and you can reach me at 214-736-9696. Once again, that's John Allen at 214-736-9696.
As a business owner, are you getting all the tax advantages that are available to you? Are your assets protected from creditors as much as possible? What are you doing to save and invest your hard-earned income on a tax-favored basis? And finally, are you aware that you can legally discriminate in favor of yourself and other key employees with certain planning techniques? Hi, I'm Randy Nichols, partner at Spectrum Financial Group in Addison, Texas. If you answered no or you're unaware of the answer to any of these questions, call me at 214-736-9696. I can provide you with the answer to these and other important questions to help you improve your personal financial situation and take advantage of all the benefits that are available to you. Call me, Randy Nichols, at 214-736-9696. That's 214-736-9696. That's 214-736-9696.
Everyone is busy, not to mention the headache that comes with moving. And that's why Utility Concierge is here, to make the moving process easier, faster, and simpler. Utility Concierge will connect you with all the available options from basic utilities to cable, phone, internet, home security, and everything in between. Don't waste hours on the phone talking to service providers when you can make one call to Utility Concierge, the one-stop shop for your move and your home needs. You make the selections, they make the connections. Call 214-736-9696, 214-736-9696 to get connected today. Welcome back, Dallas. You are listening to Tuttle Talk on the Real Estate Radio Network. I am your host, Andy Tuttle. You can listen to us on your iHeartRadio app, don't forget, because I know you want to keep this going when you get out of your car and go grocery shopping. You're going to definitely want to keep it going today. You can reach us also, 214-736-9696, or become a fan of the show, facebook.com/Tuttle Talk. And as always, you can catch all shows, including this one, in their entirety at andytuttle.com. And you're going to want to check our fan page out soon for a new date and time of our show starting next month. So we're very excited about that, and you need to check out our fan page to find out more about that. Every week, gang, I try to bring value to you. I try to do that through content, through balanced truths, and through interviewing great influencers in not only our community, but around the nation. And today is really someone truly special. And I've been telling you about this. I've been trying to prep you for it, but I'm going to prep you again. And you got to get your pens ready for this, or your smartphone, or wherever you take notes. Take it on Evernote. It's a great product. Take them there, but put this in a place where you can remember it, because you're going to want to listen to this today. Over the past 2 decades, Todd Duncan has built a respected enterprise while he continues to study the lives of super high achievers. And they thrive, and here's the thing, on and off the job. Because true success, which you're going to find out from Todd here, is not measured just in your business success. That's not what it's about. So he continues to find ways to synthesize. He's interviewing people all the time. And in his discoveries, he's figured out a way to continue to put those into compelling resources for you and me to help us both live meaningful, enriching, profitable lives. And he does this through his seminars and through many of his books that we talked about, all of his bestsellers. In fact, he's been all over the bestseller lists. This is New York Times, LA Times, Wall Street Journal, Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com, Business Week, you name it. He's been there. And he's been compared to Peter Drucker, Dale Carnegie, Bill Gates. He absolutely transformed the mortgage banking industry and transformed my career when I heard him several years ago. He has always had an innovative, authentic approach to selling, but it's selling the right way. Actually, in our business, he is known as the father of relationship-based selling for mortgage professionals. And he really has single-handedly changed and developed more successful mortgage professionals than anyone else, which helps you, the homeowner. It helps you make sure that you're getting good advice and you're making smart decisions about your financing. He is constantly raising the bar, and you see that even though you don't know it from this man right here. And his ultimate goal, and this is my favorite part, is to help people like you, like me, live and lead healthy lives of fulfillment and satisfaction. He has really helped millions, countless millions all over the world do this, and I'm so honored to have him here today to share these nuggets with you for this next half hour. So stay glued to this. Todd, welcome to the show.
Andy Tuttle, you are one amazing man, and it is a fabulous, fabulous day if I get to be on your show. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, that makes my day. Thank you so much. One of your favorite quotes, one of my favorite quotes from you that I steal all the time is, 95% of the people in the world will go 95% of the way and settle for 5% of what's available to them. And I really think that is a good framework to set up what I want to ask you about true success.
Good. Yeah. It's an important rule. It's, and the part that people don't get unless you take it all the way to the finish line, which is pun intended, is there 5% of the people that go 100% of the way, Andy, end up getting 95% of what's available to them. And the difference between giving up and taking it to the finish line is always such a small percentage of the total journey. It's just that 5 yards on a football field to get it into the goal line.
But it makes such a huge difference. And I know that that's, like you say, great rule and one trait. My question for you is, what in your expertise and all your vast knowledge of interviewing so many other successful people like yourself, what are the 5 character traits of the most successful people? And I want you to go in and feel free to dig into that, and I may stop you and ask some questions if I want to drill down into some specific points.
Sure, yeah. So, I've interviewed literally over 1,000 salespeople that are in the real estate and lending industry. I have hired consulting companies like Proudfoot Consulting to research as many as 50,000 salespeople in 14 different vertical markets. And, the character traits that I've asked and observed that people have that are at the top of their game really come down to kind of 5 things. The first, I believe, is that everybody that is successful and achieving a level of significance in their business and their life, they have a absolute unbridled passion for their profession. And it's interesting, when people think about the word passion, Andy, they think about excitement, they think about energy and enthusiasm, and those are all words that we can identify with that word passion. But the other interesting derivative or definition of passion is that there's an element, if you're really passionate, there's an element of suffering. And by that I mean suffering in terms of doing the hard work, really having the discipline to stay with the task and to take it to completion. And, passion is both the suffering and the joy of the journey. And so passionate people live through the difficulties. They are pulled through the adversities and the challenges because they are so excited about the outcome that they don't get sidetracked and they don't get derailed and they don't get pushed off course when they have these fine-tuning corrections and adjustments and things that they have to do. And then ultimately it's that person who wakes up every day because they've figured out how not to do it poorly, but how to do it well, that has this just unbridled enthusiasm and excitement about the business. I think it's interesting, too, that customers love doing business with people that are passionate, that are exciting, that are energetic, that are, just emotionally congruent with what their end goal is. In the mortgage business, it's to help people finance the biggest dream of their life. In the real estate business, it's to help people buy and sell real estate to allow their financial dreams to come true. I mean, what better profession could we be in than that profession, which we just embrace and enjoy. And but it's sad to me, Andy, that a lot of people don't have fun at the business. I posted something on Facebook two minutes ago. It said, right before we got on, it said, the perfect day, going to bed with a dream, waking up with a purpose. And that's really what passion is all about, going to bed with a dream and waking up with a purpose. And people that are purposeful in this business make big things happen. So that's number one. I think that number 2 is, and this is a big one, everybody that has succeeded at a high level has gotten really clear on what their gifts are. And they've gotten really clear that the most important thing that they do on the job is stay in their gifted zone. And that's the second thought. There's something interesting about the concept of habitual excellence, which I talk about in my latest book, Life on the Wire. Habitual excellence is about getting great. It's about the choice to be great. It's about what happens in terms of your outcomes in life when you are great. And what's interesting is when you decide your gift and you decide to get great at your gift, there's no such thing as work. It's a joyful experience. It's a vocational opportunity. It's not labor. It's not hard. It's not defeating. It's not stressful. When you're in your gifted zone, you're being set up for success because you're doing what you were wired to do well. People that are dysfunctional in their careers are usually dysfunctional because they're doing stuff they're not gifted at. They're not having fun. They're not having joy. They're not engaged in a powerful and profitable way. They're unhappy. They're miserable. And imagine being in the sales business and not being gifted at making sales calls. You would just not have any fun. And so what I think the number one gift to succeed in the sales profession, particularly mortgage and real estate, and to add as much value to homeowners as possible, the number one gift you have to have is the gift of empathy and engagement with customer conversation. You have to be good at taking a look at the customer and helping them achieve the outcome that they're looking for by being engaged with them, by being interested with them, by being conversational with them, by going deep with them, by getting emotional with them. And if you can connect with people, you can make anything happen that you want in this business. And so the migration for salespeople is to go from 10% of their day to 20 to 30 to 40. The more time they can spend in their gifted zone, generally the happier they are, the bigger the impact is that they make on customers, the bigger their paychecks are, the more joy they have, the more they attract business to themselves because they are good at what they do. By far, one of the top 5 decisions or character traits that successful salespeople embrace on a regular basis. On the other side of that is this idea of not getting good at what you're weak at. You know, I tell people all the time, don't try to get good at what God left out. And, you know, people understand that. And so part of the gifts are listen to people that know you well, observe where you have more fun on the job than where you don't, and try to align your time each and every day so that you're doing more of what you're wired to do well, because then it's not work, it's fun, and you are more impactful and more efficient in the way that you deliver that. So that's a key as well.
You're listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network. My very special guest today is best-selling author, speaker, international speaker and coach, Todd Duncan. Todd, you said a couple of things. I'm taking a lot of notes here, but for time's sake, I want to dig into this and get to the next 3 traits. But, you know, you talk about people and getting in their gifted zone. Why do you think most people aren't in their gifted zone, and how can they get on a path to get there?
Well, I think first of all, they have not been introspective enough to ask the question: what brings me joy? What makes my heart come alive? What have people told me that I'm good at? I became a speaker, Andy, not because I was a bad mortgage professional. I was really a great mortgage professional. I was involved in over 5,000 loans in my career, but I became a speaker because people kept telling me, do you know you're really good at this? Do you know that when you talk, people are changed and transformed? And so, you know, when you start paying attention to other people, start paying attention to, input from others that are closest to you, that know you well, you can begin to get on that path to migrate towards your gifted zone. The other thing is to do a strengths analysis. You know, find out exactly where you are wired from a DNA standpoint to be great, and then move in that direction. And for some people, it might require a career change. For others, it might require career movement or kind of repositioning or building a team and delegating more, and, you know, a whole host of things that we don't have time to go into. But
right.
That's why. And then what's interesting is that moves to the third thing, which is if you're in your gifted zone, it's easier for you to do first things first. And people that aren't in their gifted zone don't do first things first. They get complicated, confused, and concerned early in the day. And what I tell people is master one thing thinking. It's one thing at a time. And if you're in your gifted zone in our business, there's probably 2 or 3 things you do every day. You talk to real estate agents, you talk to homeowners, and you talk to your team. You know, one thing at a time, one thing at a time, one thing at a time. Juggling is the fast track to poverty. Multitasking is the fast track to stress. And the most successful people on the planet have mastered one thing thinking. They do one thing at a time, and it's in their gifted zone. The fourth thing, and this is huge, is that really successful salespeople learn from their mistakes, and I need to add the word fast. I'm having conversations with my 16 and 15-year-old boys about choices, you know, and I'm talking to them about their setbacks and having them understand that everything that doesn't work out in life is not negative. It's actually positive. Every setback is a setup for a comeback, and everybody needs to understand that the faster you learn a lesson, which is, Andy, a mistake no longer made, all right? As long as you continue to make the mistake, you've not learned the lesson. But when you learn the lesson, which is a mistake no longer made, you play at a higher level. And what people need to understand is that the faster you learn from a mistake, the less likely you are to make the mistake twice. Case in point, if I made a bad sales call and I failed at a sales call and I got rejected, I don't want to fail again at a sales call for the same reasons. I want to figure out what I can do next time so that I raise the odds, increase the probabilities, and, you know, secure my destiny by not repeating negative behavior. So that's a huge, 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 huge deal in terms of successful salespeople.
And I got to say, on that note, Todd, because it's just so, it resonates so big with me, and I know it resonates with a lot of people, is, you know, these traits that you're talking about, and you've been passionate about this for years, and you've taught this, and in fact, I've had the privilege of learning from you and from your books and from your seminars and various ways that you communicate this in my own life. And the biggest thing as far as one-timing things and mastering one thing at a time has been changed my business, because I found out, too, you really can't multitask. You can only do one thing at a time anyway, and you try to do all these things and your brain just paralyzes. And then on the mistakes piece, I used to get down on myself with mistakes. And then what happened is I think me, like most people, then kind of got afraid of making those mistakes. And when you get afraid of making mistakes, then you don't grow, right? Because we're born kind of to make mistakes, if you will, right? You get more food all around your face than you get in your mouth as a child, but then you learn that way, and then you get better and better and better. And you've helped me, teach me how to embrace the mistake, learn as much as you can in a lesson, and then grow exponentially.
Well, and that whole attitude, Andy, leads to the fifth thing, which I think is absolutely monstrous. You know, I have a great friendship with Darren Hardy, who is the executive publisher of Success Magazine. And Darren, you know, studies more successful people than anybody on the planet and has the chance to, you know, work and talk with guys and gals that are at the top of their game in any industry worldwide with their brand. And the one thing that they have all said, and the one thing I have learned in surveying and interviewing over 1,000 salespeople in the loan and real estate business, is that the successful people they don't fail less necessarily. They have a different perspective about failure, and they try to make and are successful at making failure their friend. And so I wrote a lesson a couple years ago called Silver Lining Thinking. And Silver Lining Thinking is, what's good about this? You know, what can I learn from this failure? What one thing can I take away from this so that I'm not likely to repeat this failure at a certain point, you know, down the road, next week, next month, or even next year? And when people have an outlook towards failure that is positive, that is that is encouraging, that is inspiring, a lot of people listening to this are having a hard time thinking, you mean I need to look at a failure as inspiring? And the answer is yes. I mean, let's just face it. The most successful salespeople haven't failed less. They have failed more, and they have failed faster than those who are not at their level. And they have mastered the art of learning from the failure so they don't repeat it and have to fail again twice. I think this is an absolute tipping point for people, Andy, that if they can get their head around the idea that failure is actually good. I want to wake up every day and say, how can I fail today on my way to success? What one thing can I learn today so that I don't go through life timid. I don't go through life recoiling. I don't go through life dispassionate and guarded and risk adverse because of some failure that I wasn't able to, in my mind, get my head around was actually super, super positive. And there's hundreds of stories, obviously. One I'll tell you real quick is Einstein was reported to have over 5 million pages of personal journal during his lifetime outlining his failures. 5 million, Google it, 5 million pages of journal outlining his failures on the thousands and thousands and thousands of products and resources that he attempted to invent during his life. Unbelievable.
That is absolutely unbelievable. And that reminds me of a Winston Churchill quote, and I'm paraphrasing it, but basically success is nothing more than going from one failure to the next without losing enthusiasm.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
That's a big one. You're listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network. Our guest is the great Todd Duncan. He is a best-selling author and speaker and international speaker and coach. And coming up, you guys, we are going to get into a couple of things. And he, luckily for you, has written a book about how to, now that you know the characteristics of being super successful and the traits of that, you've still got to find a way. How do you have balance in your life with all of this? Well, Todd wrote a book about that. It's called Life on the Wire. And because there's just so much information here. And so, of course, Todd wrote a book on it. I think, Todd, is this your 10th book?
14th.
14th book? Man, I miscounted on that. Goodness gracious. And I believe I want to ask you when we come back, too, because I think you had a goal to write. What was it? Your goal was to write 10 by the age of... You had a goal on your books, right?
10 books by the age of 50, and we did 14 by the age of 50.
Man, congratulations. That's fantastic. So coming up, we're going to take a deep dive into Todd's new book, Life on the Wire, subtitled Avoid Burnout and Succeed in Work and Life. We're going to get into that and tell you how you can get a free copy of this fantastic book next.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Having insurance and having the right amount of coverage are not necessarily the same thing. For example, water damage happens in a variety of ways and is one of the top reasons people file property claims in Texas. But did you know that some well-known companies will not even cover you if a drain backs up and overflows into the house? Just because you have a policy does not guarantee that you are truly protected. Be safe, check with your agent. If you'd like some help, call me. I'm John Allen with Texas Community Insurance, and you can reach me at 214-736-9696. Once again, that's John Allen at 214-736-9696.
Everyone is busy, not to mention the headache that comes with moving. And that's why Utility Concierge is here, to make the moving process easier, faster, and simpler. Utility Concierge will connect you with all the available options from basic utilities to cable, phone, internet, home security, and everything in between. Don't waste hours on the phone talking to service providers when you can make one call to Utility Concierge, the one-stop shop for your move and your home needs. You make the selections, they make the connections. Call 214-736-9696, 214-736-9696 to get connected today.
As a business owner, are you getting all the tax advantages that are available to you? Are your assets protected from creditors as much as possible? What are you doing to save and invest your hard-earned income on a tax-favored basis? And finally, are you aware that you can legally discriminate in favor of yourself and other key employees with certain planning techniques? Hi, I'm Randy Nichols, partner at Spectrum Financial Group in Addison, Texas. If you answered no or you're unaware of the answer to any of these questions, call me at 214-736-9696. I can provide you with the answer to these and other important questions to help you improve your personal financial situation and take advantage of all the benefits that are available to you. Call me, Randy Nichols, at 214-736-9696. That's 214-736-9696. That's 214-736-9696.
And we're back. You're listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network. Yes, I know I have Todd Duncan on the phone, but of course, I'm going to do that every week. It does not matter. I am your host, Andy Tuttle. Remember, you can listen on your iHeart Radio app. You can also reach us at 214-736-9696 or become a fan of the show at facebook.com/Tuttle Talk. And remember, you want to check the fan page to find out all about our new date and time. We're very excited about that coming up in April. My guest today, Todd Duncan, best-selling author, international speaker, coach to literally millions of salespeople all around the world. His new book is Life on the Wire, Avoid Burnout and Succeed in Work and Life. If you want a free signed copy of this, you just be the first 5 to post Give Me Life on the Wire on my fan page. Go to facebook.com/Tuttle Talk. Say, Give Me Life on the Wire. The first 5 to do that, we're going to give you a free signed copy by Todd. It will change your life. If you read it and listen to the principles, this is books that can really make a life-changing difference for you. Todd, welcome back to the show.
Good to be back, Andy. Thank you again. It's been great to be with you.
Good. I'm so happy to hear that. You have written multiple best-selling books, and I know that. And this one doesn't seem to stray really from your extensive expertise. You stay to your core here, but you talk about it in a little different way, your approach about how to harmonize work and life. Talk a little bit about Life on the Wire.
Well, Life on the Wire is devoted to helping people manage the tension between career and life, and how to make career and life work together in harmony. And sadly, what ends up happening so often is people take their eye off the ball and they don't have a plan for their life and their business. They're not prioritizing their life and their business the right way. Things that we talked about earlier about top character traits are not being embraced and used and deployed daily in the marketplace. And what ends up happening is so often the job robs us of the time that we would like to spend in all the other endeavors that in a 24-hour period of time we desire to get done, like intimacy with our spouse, connection time with our kids, enough time to stay healthy and be at the gym, enough time to social interaction and things that are important to us. But because of dysfunction on the job, we end up not having enough of this time, or we're so dysfunctional on the job, we end up coming home and we're not present, we're not fully engaged. And so when I wrote Life on the Wire, it was about the idea of how do we achieve a sense of balance. And what I learned is there's no such thing as balance, but there is this thing called purposeful imbalance, which is keeping your eye on the areas of your life that are important and taking time from one to put to the other and taking time from the other to put to another one, and to do this in small, bite-sized chunks. And I learned this by having a conversation with Tino Wallenda from the Flying Wallendas. These guys for 130 years, Andy, have been at the top of their game in terms of the high wire act at circuses all over the world. They never, ever use a net. They hold 12 Guinness Book of World Records of people on the high wire. And what Tino said to me, he says the key to being balanced in life is the same as it is on the high wire. You can never stop moving, and you can only make minor adjustments. If you look at anybody on the high wire, if they start taking that pole and making big old adjustments, it's a matter of time before they fall off. The really cool performers move that pole just a little bit, Andy. And so when we talk about people that are balanced in life, I think three things come to mind. First is they put boundaries on their business. And I tell people, if you put boundaries on your business, you can achieve balance in your life. In other words, time for the things in life that are important. Andy, I can look at any person in real estate and mortgage, and I can tell you that right now, between 60 and 75% of their day is dysfunctional, it's out of control, it's reactive, it's doing stuff that doesn't produce revenue, it's zapping time, energy, enthusiasm, life, and the soul of the human being right out of their heart. And so I try to get people to get clear on what are the boundaries, what clients should you say no to, what tasks should you say no to, what things should you do more efficiently so you don't have to spend all your time inefficiently moving the puck down the ice. It's very, very clear to me that when people put boundaries on their business, they can get more done in less time with less stress, make more money, and have more time off the job for the things that are hugely important. Now watch this. The better you're doing off the job, the better you'll do on the job. This is a loop. It's a symbiotic loop. If I don't put boundaries on my business, I will not have a good life. And if I don't have a good life, pretty soon I'm going to really be terrible at business. Those two are linked forever. And so that's why people have to get their head around this. So what that leads to is the kind of the second thing that all super achievers do is they constantly keep their eye on the dial, and they do it in bite-sized pieces. I'll give you an example. I talked to Zig Ziglar before he died last year, and we had several conversations, have been really good friends, and Zig had talked about the idea of trying to lose weight and keep it off, and he jokingly said he's lost over 2,000 pounds in his life and gained it all back. And he said, when I really got clear that I needed to just keep my eye on the dial, it wasn't about losing pounds. It was about daily losing ounces. And that's balance. So somebody who doesn't pay attention to how much weight they're gaining or losing, if that is their goal, can end up a week or two later realizing they gained 2 or 3 pounds. Well, instead, if you look at every day and you have a point in front of the number, a 0.7, a 0.6, a 0.9, and you're up maybe a half an ounce or 2 or 3 ounces, you can adjust that dial that day, Andy, by not having a bagel or not having a cocktail or whatever. And so the balanced people are not trying to make these wild swings where at the end of the month they realize they haven't been to the gym, they go back for 7 hours, and then they hurt for the next month. They're making the small adjustments, and they're going out, and walking for 20 minutes, even though they can't squeeze in an hour, and then pretty soon they get to an hour. It's the small adjustments, and this kind of thinking, small adjustments over time create monstrous results, and that's the second thing that balanced people do. They keep their eye on the dial. And then the big thing, I think, Andy, is what I call the wish-did filter. There's 2 things that happen in our life, and they're all results-oriented. One is the response to a result, which is, I wish I had. So if I don't have enough money in the bank, I wish I had started saving earlier, okay? Or if I have enough money in the bank, it's, I'm glad I did. And so how do you use that as a proactive tool for actually staying balanced? You actually run everything you're going to do through that filter. I'm talking to my boys again about balance, and I'm saying, guys, in your life, you're going to make choices, and the outcome of every choice you make in your life is either going to be it's the wrong choice, and you're going to say, I wish I had, or it's going to be the right choice, and you're going to say, I'm glad I did. So balanced people think about everything every day. Like, shoot, I said I was going to be home at 5:30. It looks like it's going to be 7. Is that a I wish I had or I'm glad I did scenario? And if you're thinking I'm glad I did, you're going to get in your car at 5:20 and you're going to be home at 5:30 or whatever your drive time is. and you're going to figure out the pieces that go into making the balance equation work. Jim Rohn, before he died, talked about the pain of discipline and the pain of regret, and that regret weighs tons where discipline only weighs ounces. But discipline is what gives you the breakthrough for balance, and it's the I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. So those three things are right off the top of my mind, things that people will get out of, reading Life on the Wire. There's 12 tension points. Things I have to do, things I love to do. There's a tension point between making money and making memories. There's a tension point between working hard and staying healthy. There's a tension point between making your mark and leaving your legacy. 12 tension points, and we use actual real stories of human beings that have been very successful in business and life and what they did with that tension point to get the breakthrough they needed.
You're listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network. My special guest today is the Todd Duncan. His new book is Life on the Wire. And Todd, a couple of things I have to comment on because I've been literally scrambling the notes. I hope you guys have been doing the same. But, this thing about losing ounces and a different strategy of making the small adjustments. And I've seen different methodologies on this, but I like what you say there because it's easier to manage when it's small. When it gets too big out there, it's like how to eat the 800-pound elephant, one bite at a time. And it's like a watershed event, right? The little ounces of water and droplets of water that come off the ice way upstream turn into a huge river downstream, right, in the snow, when the snow starts to melt. And it's a watershed event. And I feel like that's what you are saying you create in your life. And to do that, the solution is Life on the Wire, to keep moving, to make small adjustments and not feel like you have to make these big chunks all the time, and just to take it a little step at a time. And I think that's so powerful for people to hear because you can do that from wherever you're at in life, right?
Well, you can do it from wherever you're at, but and you have to keep your eye on the ball and keep your head in the game. And I want to inspire everybody to understand what Andy just said and to realize that it is the daily choice over a week, a month, a year that adds up. I'll give you just one recent example. If you use Splenda and you use 2 packets of Splenda a day, it's 10 pounds a year of fat calories, even though it's not supposed to have any fat calories. If you use 100 calories of any milk in your coffee over the course of a year, it's 35,000 calories, which is 10 pounds. So if you adjust little things like that by paying attention, or you don't adjust them and it adds up, that's the message we're trying to send right now, Andy, on this. The little changes. You can give up half of the calories from 100 to 50. You can give up 2 of the Splendas down to 1 of the Splendas. You can do all kinds of little things. Money. Making your investments. It's a lot easier to invest weekly when you have the money than trying to invest monthly when you don't have it. It's the little things that add up, and you're absolutely right.
I think the biggest takeaways I got from today, besides getting the book itself, is that some of the things you said today is setback is the setup for a comeback. And I love that because I talk to so many people and talking to so many homeowners and just friends and family going through tough things in their lives since the recession, becoming unemployed, being laid off really for a couple of years, and the self-image goes down, just your worth seems to go down, and it's not shouldn't be as tied to the job as it is, but as we're engineered that way, we're designed that way. And, to help people and encourage them is such a gift that you have, Todd. And the solution, and this in a long line of 14 books now that have changed people's lives. Guys, if you want to get a hold of it, it's Life on the Wire. Avoid burnout and succeed in work and life. It's written by one of the authorities on the subject. Don't forget, if you want to get a free signed copy, go to my fan page, facebook.com/Tuttle Talk. Just post, give me Life on the Wire. The first 5 to do that, you're going to get a free signed copy of Todd's book. And Todd, before I let you go, one quick thing I want you to touch on. Oh, and don't forget, you can get this also at Amazon.com if you want, and you can go to theduncangroup.com to get your hands on this today. And Todd, before I let you go, just very quickly, I know accountability is so important. Don Getling and is my accountability partner that you encourage people all the time to have accountability partners, and I have one. He's another radio show host in California. It's made a huge difference in my business. Would you touch very quickly on the importance of accountability in people's lives?
Yeah, Well, I mean, ancient scriptures talk about the idea that a cord of many is not easily severed, and I think that's what accountability is about. They also talk about the fact that as iron sharpens iron, let one man sharpen another, and what that sets people up for is transparency and a tad of vulnerability, but more importantly, designed growth. And so when I ask people, did you get any ideas today out of our time together, and they say yes, and I ask them who's going to hold you accountable, they say themselves. And I said, that's not going to work. If we could all hold ourselves accountable, there would be no such thing as the book writing business, the authoring business, the seminar business. Everybody would be great. Everybody would be enormously successful. When we talk about the law of leverage in high trust selling, we're talking about the idea that you're less likely to fail when you've told others you'll succeed. So I want to give my business plan to a partner. I want to tell them, here's my top 10 life goals for the next 5 years. I want to have lunch with you, once a month. I want you to reach out to me and ask me how I'm doing. I just came out of a 3-day program with Darren Hardy, and I have an accountability partner. I'm an author, Andy. I've written 14 books. I'm, supposed to be at the top of my success game, and yet I have an accountability partner to make sure everything I learned in 3 days with my friend Darren Hardy gets implemented. Right. And so you have to use accountability for all the areas of your life in which you want to achieve greatness, and you want to achieve that kind of fulfillment. And otherwise, left to our own devices, we tend to meander and wander and spend too much time trying to get to the end result. I'm a big fan.
I am so glad you're a big fan. And guys, listen to that. Accountability, it's not silly. It's critical for true success in your life. The harmony, the purposeful imbalance, if you will, that Todd says. Pick up the book, Life on the Wire. Go to Amazon.com, go to theduncangroup.com, and there, too, you can get his whole selection of fantastic books that he's written to help people like you and me grow and live full and enriching lives. Todd, thank you so immensely for being here today.
Pleasure, and really happy to spend some time with you. Congratulations on your success, and thanks for adding value to the community. You did a great job, and it was a joy being with you.
Great. Thank you so much, Todd. Take care.
Bye.
You're listening to Tuttle Talk. I hope you've enjoyed this hour. If you want to get a hold of me, call me 214-736-9696, 214-736-9696. Don't forget to go to yourmortgagereview.com, yourmortgagereview.com, if you want to look at ways you can save money on your current structuring of your financing, or if you're looking to buy a new home, yourmortgagereview.com. I'd also like to thank my guests today, my special guest today, Todd Duncan. Go pick up the book, I'm Serious. Go to the fan page and facebook.com/Tuttle Talk. Say, give me Life on the Wire. First 5 to do that, free signed copy. I'd also like to thank Mike Dunlap for sharing some CPA tips today, and Danny Miles, our production director. That's it for today. Race Talk is coming up next. This is Andy Tuttle for the Real Estate Radio Network. Don't forget to go to the fan page and find out about our new date and time. Thank you for listening to Tuttle Talk, where we're making financial intelligence a priority in our community. Have a great weekend.